Shall we begin for today's class? Today I brought James Joyce's The Dead, the reading that I have assigned you. By the way, I have to make it a little early. I have 45 minutes and I have to shoot 2 videos for 45 minutes. So I would like to make it quick. So this is very brief, basic background, biographical background of James Joyce, who is Irish writer. Some of you may know this or not, but he's very well-known author, writer, novelist. Even though we've read short story, he is very well-known for the movement of the modernism, along with Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf, who some of you may already know her name or not, but anyway, those 2 figures are representative authors for the modernism, which I will not go into detail for today. His life started from 1882 to 1941. He didn't have much long life. He was born in Dublin, in Ireland, so he is not British writer. He was the son of talented, wealthy once, but that talented, wealthy father was irresponsible. So that way, the elder Joyce means that Joyce's father drifted slowly down the financial, that way, social scale as well. And his family was moving from house to house. For instance, the house from prosperous one, rich house, to a poor condition, poorer and poorest one. So that's the way of Joyce's being more poor as he grew older. And the second one, the primary education of Joyce's is through 6 to 16 years old was for his being priesthood. He was a Catholic, so that way he was dreaming to be the priest. That's James's goal for once. I mean, when he was young. But he later changed his mind and that way rejected the predestined road for being a priest, chose exile abroad. As you see in the table, he had a life in Dublin and he had other lives in Trieste, Paris and Zurich throughout his whole life. So he chose exile abroad and devoted himself to the life of the artist. The title of the book, A Portrait of the Artist, that's Joyce's book, which is about his own autobiographical life. So this is very basic background of Joyce, and before getting into The Dead, I'd like to also look into the complex national history of Ireland. Why? That's because actually this part is making me anxious for today's class. That's because Ireland has a complex history, national history. Why? That's because Ireland was the colony of England. You can imagine that, you can draw upon the case of Korea as well. Korea was the colony of Japan, which was empire before, and Ireland was the colony of Great Britain before. So that is the reason and how Ireland has the complex national history. So there's whole detailed descriptions about Irish national history, but today I brought only one incident, which is, as you see above, the Acts of the Union, which occurred 1801. The British, and what is the Acts of the Union? It's the British and Irish Parliament merged the Kingdom of Ireland and the Kingdom of the Great Britain. So it means that it's merging between the Kingdom of Ireland and Kingdom of Great Britain. But the complexity is because of their unequal status. So the Kingdom of Ireland is the name of Ireland at the time, but their condition was actually not the kingdom. The kingdom actually goes for the Great Britain more properly. Ireland was poor, they were powerless. So that way, the whole process of the merging for making the United Kingdom of Britain and Ireland is not equal at all. The second part, about the 18th century context that already pre-exists the condition of Ireland when they tried to merge and try to make the United Kingdom. Even 1 century ago, the Irish Parliament was subject to a number of restrictions that placed Ireland as the subservient to the Parliament of England. This means that Ireland, even at that time, was subjected to Great Britain, England. So I want you to see the inequality. Do you see the green colored map here, over there? That's the picture, that's the result of the Act of the Union. The northern part, so the United Kingdom includes Scotland, England. The northern part is Scotland. You can see that map as well. The Scotland and England and Wales and Ireland. So the whole green colored map is the result of the United Kingdom at that time. But that map has been a little bit changed like that one. So that one, the yellow, the orange colored one, those are the part of the United Kingdom for now. And the green one, that's the island for now. Ireland, which also Republic of Ireland. The complexity goes into deeper. How? So, as I told you already, Ireland was the colony of England. So the English over there were going into the territory of Ireland, mainly the Northern Ireland. So that way, the English who were coming from England, they brought the economic prosperity, industrial development. So they brought all of the technologies and financial resources. And that way, they made far exceeding development in Northern Ireland. So that way, the ethnic groups that is making up of the northern part is mostly about English from England or Anglo-Irish, which is originated from Anglo-Saxon of England. So I want you to see two here, two in Northern Ireland. First is their far developed condition, their economic prosperity even at the time, unlike Southern Ireland. And the ethnic group. It's not about native Irish, but it's more about English or Anglo-Irish, whose origination was coming from England. Then the Southern Ireland, because the Northern Ireland has the power, the economic power and other industrial development, the Southern Ireland didn't have that much development, and they didn't have the technology, they didn't have enough resources. So that way they were becoming very poor, actually really poorest condition. I'm gonna show you some images relevant to this. And in terms of the racial ethnicity, this is really hard to pronounce, ethnicity. Anyway, the race or the racial ethnicity of the Southern Ireland is Gaels. Gaels is the native to Ireland, which is different from Anglo-Saxon and English. So I want you to see the two in Southern Ireland as well. First one is that their poor condition, their powerless condition, and second one is their racial ethnicity, which is based on the Gaels, is different from that of the Northern Ireland. So that way, just like Korea has separated between North Korea and South Korea, Ireland had undergone the separation between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. Northern Ireland they are rich, they are developed, they were developed, and Southern Ireland is just the opposite. This is more specified map of the condition of the island that was separated from Northern and Southern. As you see over there, the red colored one, as I told you, the racial ethnicity in Northern Ireland is English or the Anglo-Irish. And in terms of the religion, England had changed their official religion from Catholic to Protestantism sometime in 16th century. So that way, the dominant religion in Northern Ireland is the Protestantism. Southern Ireland, the race is Gaelic Irish, which is native to the island, and their religion, the dominant religion in Southern Ireland is Catholic. As you see here, this is the table that summed up the conditions. The ruled religion, the ruled region, the ruled race is the Catholic Southern Ireland, which now Republic of Ireland, and Gaelic Irish. And the ruler's religion, which is the England. England's religion is not England for now, but Northern Ireland. I mean, Northern Ireland, it was influenced by England much. So their religion is Protestantism. That's the case of the Northern Ireland. And the racial ethnicity is English or Anglo-Irish, originated from Anglo-Saxon. So this is a very brief version of the complex national history of Irish that you may need to know for reading the Dead in a more proper way. If that's the case of, if what I have explained so far, that is, if that's about the national history, then here's more additional explanation about their social condition, how Ireland was worst condition. Especially during the 19th century, Ireland was largely passed over by the Industrial Revolution. This means that Ireland couldn't have the Industrial Revolution. Why? That's because they couldn't. They didn't have the enough resources. They didn't have the technology. Basically, they didn't have the infrastructure. Partly because they lacked coal and iron resources, which is for the Industrial Revolution. They are lack of it. And partly because the impact of the sudden union with the structurally superior economy of England, which saw Ireland as a source of agricultural produce and capital. This means that England, even though they merged as a union, England didn't see Ireland as equal, but England saw Ireland as source of agricultural produce and capital, just like the colony. And another condition which is very seriously impacted on Ireland was the Great Famine, which covers the period from 1845 to 1851. That Great Famine devastated Ireland, and because of this Great Famine, Ireland's population fell by 1/3, which is really great, and more than 1 million people died from starvation and disease. And because of this, other 2 million people emigrated to United States and Canada. These are some images that can be the evidences of Great Famine and the worst condition of Ireland at the time. That one, the right one above, that image is about the actual statues that you can see in Dublin, and that's the evidences of Great Famine. And these two are another images of the Great Famine. Other images that are showing Ireland is very condition which is really, really different from that of England. So all of these social and national complex conditions are embedded in the short story, The Dead. So I want you to bear all of this context in your mind when you are reading for the rest part of the story. So these are the images that I have found out from the movie adaptations, The Dead. The center one, that's the Gabriel Conroy, the male protagonist, or the main male character, the main male narrator in the story. That's Gabriel Conroy. And other figures are the guests who are invited to the dinner party. The very first part, the first half of the short story are about the scene before starting the dinner party. The guests are coming, and right before the half letter part of the short story, you may see a dancing scene. That's what I'm gonna tell you more for today. Anyway, so For the first half of the story, you may see the several guests who are invited. And I looked up their genealogy. Not all of them, but 5 of them. Most of them I referred on the PPT pages were on page 2177, except for the second figure, Mr. Clancy, that's the page. Mr. Clancy is referred on page 2180. So the genealogy, specifically their ethnographic genealogy, which means that it's about their racial ethnicity, means about Gales or whether they are English descendant or they are native Irish descendant. Mr. Bartle D'Arcy, he is the descendant of the first Chief Justice of Ireland, means that he is the descendant of the native of Ireland. Mr. Clancy, a native to Ireland as well. Bergin, County of Offaly, that's the eastward of Ireland, means that basically all of these figures are native to Ireland. That way, these figures are representing the conditions of Southern Ireland rather than the Northern Ireland. Then, according to the ethnographic genealogy of these guests, in which all of the figures that referred in these pages, they are descendants of the native island. Then what about Gabriel's identity? That's one of the main questions. So actually, I prepared the analysis of the episode in relation to the West Britain. That's on page 2179, but I'm not go into that. I would like to go to that part, that analysis of this episode West Britain for next class, because I have to stop here because of the time limit. Sorry about that. So for today's class, I want you to remind of the complex historical conditions, in what ways the Irish national history is not a simple one, but in what ways their history becomes complicated, and in what ways the island has been separated between 2 parts, and as a result of that separation between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, especially in relation to that context, I want you to look at, while you read the rest part of the reading, I want you to think about Gabriel Conroy's identity. Maybe I can refer this. Okay, there's the episode West Britain in 2179. I want you to look at how that episode ends up and think about Gabriel Conroy's identity in comparison with other invited guests who are the descendants of the native island. In comparison with them, what about then Gabriel's own identity? What is their national identity? On page 2188, that is the scene about Gabriel's speech before the dinner. And think about his message. What does he want to convey through that speech? Sorry for wrapping up the class in haste, but I would like to try to make up the class and the close analysis of the text for next class. Thank you for listening to today.